Helskate was just one of them indie games. I'm constantly on Twitter checking out various indie games, following different indie studios, solo projects and everything. And every now and again, there's a game that I see and I'm like, oh my god, that just looks super fun. And if you don't know, Helskate is another Tony Hawk Pro Skater-like game. And previously, the only game I can think of that kind of took the world by storm, if you want to say that, is Rollerdrome. And Rollerdrome was a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game with guns. But Helskate is a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game with roguelike elements and with melee combat. Now this isn't a review because I've actually only played about 2 hours of the game because, you know, I'm one man. There is so many games coming out and unfortunately I can't beat and review every single game that I get, but this was one game that I just really wanted to play. So I sat down with it for about 2 hours and I have some thoughts. So this game launched in early access, which obviously means there will be more bugs, visual glitches, etc. But also, if you are interested in getting this game afterwards, just be wary because of course, with early access, these games can never come to fruition. You know, you could spend your money and then all of a sudden they never update the game. Now that doesn't happen as often nowadays as it did say 10 years ago, but it's still something to consider. But jumping in, this game already, it has like a great aesthetic to it. It has cool cartoony visuals with some seriously grotesque enemies, and I really like the design of the main characters. This demon boy skater fella that also has one wing coming out of him almost like Sephiroth. He just looks cool, and aesthetically I think this game really hits, and it does have a decent level of polish to the visuals that I wasn't expecting. And performance wise, I can't run it at 144 FPS. I did get a couple of sort of frame drops and kind of massive frame drops. So once I played it at 60 FPS, it held a relatively smooth frame rate. There were dips, but overall, aesthetically and performance wise, and even bugs wise, I had a couple of bugs. I think this game is doing pretty well for an early access launch. So now jumping into the game in the hub world where you do all your roguelite upgrades and all that. And if you've ever played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you're going to be familiar with this where, you know, you have jumps, you can do manuals, I believe. I'm no skater. You can do grabs, you can do tricks, you can do all that fancy stuff, and it all adds to a combo multiplier. And over at the shops, which I haven't really unlocked much, you have tattoos which basically give you permanent upgrades. So here you can see I have like a healing cross, which heals a small percentage when entering a room, or lightning bolt, +1 dash before needing to recover. And as you go around, you also get like roguelike upgrades as you go through the levels, which I'll show you later. And that's where it gets kind of interesting. Now, from what I've played, this game does have a couple of weird sort of, I guess, design choices, I would say, that I'm just not really sure about. Now, there are things that can be fixed or maybe upgraded and maybe get better as time goes on. So now that we're into a level, the first level of every run seems to be the same. You also get an item here. So here's the gear I was talking about. And this is where things kind of get pretty interesting. Now, I don't know what I'm going to pick here. Explosion radius. No. Heavy attack cause an explosion at point of impact. Charge up 2 seconds while manuing. Jumping creates. Oh yes, this blast walker is my favorite upgrade I've gotten so far. So basically, it just gives me a super high jump when I manual, which makes such a big difference because now I can jump really high. And at the start of every round, like every single room that you go into, enemies will spawn. And I can see what they're doing here with the melee combat. It does actually feel relatively good. I was really kind of almost apprehensive about what melee combat could be like in a game like this. Would it ruin your sort of momentum? But no, it has a very good almost lock-on where it never really seems to like ruin your momentum. So this is the first level of every single time you play. And when you finish, this is where you get the cool stuff. So the impossible missile I really like, but this kickflip lightning tornado is also very cool. So now this augments your abilities. So now when I do a kickflip, it does a lightning tornado that I don't actually know what it does. I'll find out when it gets into combat. But like you can get things like if you do like a kickflip, you will launch a rocket out in front of you that is cool for the combat. But from what I've played, the combat is at odds with the game, where you go into a room every single time and there's only enemies at the start, and then after it just becomes like a Tony Hawk game where you're just going around the level trying to get a high combo rather than, you know, having combat a part of the whole game, if you get me. So every single level, similar to the Tony Hawk games, has this kind of ability or these checklists where you have to collect all the letters, destroy all the skate stoppers, grind the crane, you know, level specific things, then get high scores. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not very good at these games. I never was. When I played a lot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 on the PS4, I got like pretty good, but these games are ones that you really have to like sit down and give it time, get back up to speed, learn all the tricks, what's the best combo, and I haven't put enough time into it. So every single time you finish a level, you load in and you can choose what you want, what your reward to be on the next level. And I think I will go... I don't need money. I'll go with more gear because some of the upgrades really, really help. And from what I can tell, it seems to be that you get a random... Yes, you do. The next level is random. And I don't know how many levels there is, but the game currently has one world. So here's what I mean by the game is at odds with itself, okay? So the level now is split. I need to just show you this. So the level now is split. I can't go in there until I kill all these enemies. And as you can see there are 5 enemies here. And, I mean, you do get, you know, a fair bit of damage dealt to yourself if you're not careful. But generally, it's easy enough to kill the enemies. Once you just kind of, you know, watch out and... See, I'm trying to, like, link a combo here. Because as you can see, land a 4,500 point combo, including 1 kill. And then you get, like, extra health. Which comes in really handy later because there's one level that I struggle on because it has a big gap. So I like to keep the manuals up going for a while because they're the only thing my skill allows me to do. And so once you kind of kill all the enemies, the second half of the level will open up. But as you can see, like, you know, this is more just, I don't know, there's not really any elegance to it, I guess. Is that it's not into, it's like, the game is very segmented. This is very clearly the combat section. And after this is when you get into the skate section. But you also have, once you kill all the enemies, you have unlimited time in the level to complete everything. And I was thinking, like, maybe once you kind of finish all the objectives, which I almost have, like, look at this level for argument's sake. I've almost completed everything, okay? And once you kind of finish all of them, there's no real incentive for me to stay in the level unless I'm just looking for a high score, which I understand that's part of what these games are. They are high score chasing games. But I wonder if you could have, say, you get a 10-minute time limit on every level. For those 10 minutes, enemies will spawn at random intervals. And basically, you are looking to achieve the highest score possible, which will then mean that your rewards are better going into the next level. So let's say instead of me getting 50 gems or getting only a common piece of gear, if I get over 1 million points in that 10 minutes, let's just say for argument's sake, I will end up getting all rare gear and maybe I'll get 150 gems. So it kind of gives you an incentive to stay in the level. Because right now, I don't really have an incentive to stay in the level. I've unlocked free skate on this level. Yes, there are 2 more things that I could have done. But I don't know, the game really isn't compelling me to stay here. It's just kind of pushing me on to the next level. And in here you have these vaults, which are basically... They're actually a really cool way to give you a tutorial as well as being able to get more, like, abilities and gear and stuff. So this is a wall ride tutorial, which is something I still haven't figured out, but now I know. So I jump. Let's see. So I press triangle to wall ride. Again, if you're, like, super familiar with the Tony Hawk games, maybe you already understand this. But, like, I pulled off wall rides without even realizing earlier. And these can get, honestly, quite difficult. Which is nice. Go on, yes. Again, I apologize for my skill at this game. But they are just a good way of giving you a fun tutorial way of kind of engaging with this game. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm dead. And here's the infamous, well, I wouldn't exactly call it infamous, but the level that I have the most trouble on. But now that I know how to properly wall ride, again, as I said, I don't play these games very often. I'm sure if you've played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you understand that triangle is the wall ride. But, I mean, I haven't played a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game since the first one, since the remakes came out anyway. So, you know, it's been a while. Because I kept struggling here when, realistically, that's all I had to do. So, like, this is a level that I kind of have an incentive to stay around in. Because... And they're also... Obviously, since these are... not exactly randomly... Well, they're like randomly placed. They're still fully designed levels. Since there are more and they're expected to be like one after the other on your... You know, your next run, you might encounter a different level. There's obviously going to be these levels feeling smaller than the Tony Hawk games, which is completely fine. I have absolutely no problem with that. So, but like, there you can see, I've already completed this level. So yes, there is a reason for me to kind of stick around, I guess, with just simply wanting to complete this level and, you know, do all the grind rails and get all the letters. But also, I kind of wish there was, I don't know, just a bit more of an incentive for me to stay around instead of just... Because once I finish all of these levels, once I finish this, like, I collect the Helskate, let's say. Which, oh yeah, I'm so good. There's no reason for me to stay around unless I'm chasing a high score. But, I don't know, I kind of wish the roguelike mechanics and the melee mechanics and just simply skating was kind of melded together better, if you get me. Because, again, it feels like this is segmented. You have your combat section first, which is this. And yes, I can, you know, sit here and do all this and try, you know, put everything together. These enemies specifically are the most annoying. The skating enemies, they're definitely more tough than the other ones. Yes, I can do all this, and obviously that is part of the game. But I just kind of wish they were melded together a bit. Again, these are things that can be fixed. And maybe, you know, when there's 3 chapters, which is what they're saying there's going to be, and say, let's say, for argument's sake, 15 or 20 different levels and loads of more different enemies, then maybe it feels a bit different. But right now, that's just how, like, my initial thoughts on kind of loop of this game. Yeah, so that's Helskate, and I think I just realized that at the start of this video, I was calling it Helskater. But anyway, you understand what game I'm talking about. I think when it comes to early access games, I am okay with buying early access games just in general, because at the end of the day, you get a product, where with something like Kickstarter, you're not always guaranteed a product. And with a game like Helskate, I think it's a very good proof of concept from what I've played. It controls pretty well. I think it feels very similar to the Tony Hawk games, which is exactly what you want. There's obviously a couple of things where you might get clipped into something, or, you know, you might get stuck in something, but at the end of the day, I think that's just part of early access, and hopefully that sort of stuff will be sort of ironed out. I think as a proof of concept that a melee combat skating game can work, I think this proves that it can. But I still think that maybe just from what I've played, the roguelike mechanics just aren't exactly melded in kind of the way I would want them to. But it is something that can be fixed down the line. I think as a early access game, it seems to run really well. I think as an early access game, it runs pretty well, and I had a fun time playing it. I'll probably just dip in, maybe play another couple of runs, and then dip out. And then when the game fully launches, I think they're aiming for a 2025 full launch, maybe the end of this year. I don't know, but I would like to go back to it, because I did that with RoboQuest, where that was a roguelike shooter that when I played it, the concept was there. There just wasn't enough content to recommend it, but I could see that it was a good foundation for an amazing roguelike. And I do think that this game could also be there in the future, hopefully. So when this game does fully launch, I will do a full review. But I just wanted to show it off because I was having fun playing it. Yes, I said I had issues, but it's still a fun loop. And yeah, there's Helskate. The developers said specifically in the email that it doesn't run on Steam Deck right now. They said they are going to look into it in the future, and hopefully it will run there. I don't see why it wouldn't run. It does look like a game that could run on the Steam Deck in the future. It's obviously just not well optimized for that sort of stuff now. So I haven't even tried it on the Steam Deck because they just basically said don't even bother. So yes, Helskate, fun game. Don't forget to subscribe, and you know, whatever you want to do. I'm not your dad. Just subscribe if you want to subscribe. Like the video if you want to like it. Comment on it if you really want to. And yeah, goodbye.